Let's take a deeper dive into a couple of the KG-UV9D Mate's advanced features. Hi, and welcome to the Gadget Talk channel, where we do reviews and how-tos on a variety of electronic gadgets that catch my eye. Please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. In this video, we're going to take a look at programming and calling broadcast FM channels and setting up scan groups in the KG-UV9D Mate. I've got an affiliate link below if you're still making up your mind about this nice little HT. There are two things to be aware of with this radio. First, the FM broadcast band controls are a bit different than some other HTs that allow broadcast FM use. This is because the radio allows you to program up to 20 FM channels for easy access. No need to scan through the entire FM band to find the channel you're looking for. I found it easier to add them via the CPS, but you can also do it from the radio's faceplate. The second thing is that because the radio has 6 scannable bands, you're likely not going to want to scan the entire receiver range. Instead, you're likely going to want to find frequencies you're interested in and put them into groups. This will allow you to focus your scans on the things you're interested or what you want. Again, I added the channels via the CPS. It's just faster with fewer key clicks. In the demo, I've added some local airport channels in the airband. If you're into having a bunch of channels in your radio, this is both a boon and a bane. The good news is that you've got 10 scan groups of 100 channels each. The bad news is that you've only got 10 scan groups with 100 channels each. 100 channels is still a bunch of channels to scan through. If I were king for a day, I'd double or triple the number of scan groups and make them smaller. That way I could put GMRS and MERS channels in one group, Marine Band in another, and maybe 10 or 13 local public service channels in yet another. As it is, 10 groups is way better than none. However, more but smaller groups would be better in my opinion, especially for the die-hard prepper. Let's take a look at the FM controls. Okay, so to call up the FM broadcast function on your Mate, we're going to start by just getting to that function, and we're going to do that by pressing a short press on this button here, the first little programmable button below the push to talk. And so now you can hear I've got some music come in because I had a channel selected earlier. I'm going to keep the volume down so I don't get a copyright strike here. And so to make choices within this menu system, it works a little differently than some of the radios that I've dealt with. And so you're going to start with a pound key. And the pound key then is going to pop up in what it calls in frequency or in freq. And that means the frequency input. And so you can change frequency by rotating the ratcheted knob on the top. You can change frequencies by using up and down arrows. Or you can change frequencies by just typing in a frequency if you know what it is. Now, when that radio station is playing, which it is, I can hear it. It's a country music station. The other one was classical music. I can press this again, and then I can make a save. And so to save it, then I'm just going to rotate it to one of my open 20 channels. In this case, I'm going to go to channel 20. I know it's open because it says 76.0. And when I want to save it, I just press the menu key. And now when you look at it, you can see that channel 20 is 102.5 here in the Phoenix area. Now, the third command that we have here, again, access via the pound key, is call. And when you go to call, that's the frequency you're going to call up. And so you can use the knob and pick a frequency. I've got several of them programmed in. This is 95.5. I want that. I'll call it, and then it switched over to 95.5. I'm tired of that one. I can change again using the buttons. I want to go back up to, say, 107.9. I hear it. Press menu, and now I'm on 107.9. So the basic controls here for FM is here, then down here on the pound, and then the menu for select. And then as you can see, that menu or subsystem will disappear after a few seconds, but you can see at the top the speaker is displayed and the channel or the frequency of that FM station is displayed. So to turn it off when you're done listening, again, just a short press on this button here, and the FM function goes away. So that's the FM controls for the Mate. Now let's take a quick look at scan controls and scan groups. Depending on the CPS you're using, the groups will look like one of these two displays. The first one is the Wouxun CPS and the second is chirp. I'll be using chirp. For this example, I've decided to put in some air traffic frequencies into scan group number 3. Since that group starts at channel 200, I added the frequency information there using chirp. On the scan group display, I gave scan group 3 a name. I called it PHX or Phoenix Air. With that done, let's move to the radio and see how the scan controls and the menus work. So now let's talk just a little bit about scanning. One of the things that you'll find out is with all these scannable bands, there's a lot of frequencies that can be scanned through. And so I'm going to press this button here, the TDR-VM button. And now I've set my top register into the 700 megahertz band. And to scan within that band, when I'm in VFO mode, all I need to do is press and hold the scan button. And now you can see that it's scanning. So that's a huge band, so the chances of finding a frequency there are pretty thin. But if you want to scan in the VFO mode, that's how you do it. Press the scanning again and we'll turn it off. If we wanted to scan in the 350 megahertz range, we could just enter 350. So now we're down at 350 megahertz in the Mate. And so if I press and hold scan, now I'm going to start scanning. This one picked a carrier up, so it's stopped. So we'll press scan again. And so there's some static and enough signal there in the 350 range to stop the scan. So let's go up to the 400 megahertz range. And again, we'll scan. And it starts to scan until it picks up a carrier, and then it'll stop. So that's how you manage scanning within the 6 scannable bands that are available to you here on the Mate. Now, the other thing that's probably going to be more handy for you is to scan groups. And so let's hold this again and go back to channel mode. So now we're in channel mode. So when we came back here, it shows channel 2. I want it to show the name. So I'm going to go up here to my TDR control button right here to get the name back in. Those were long presses on that button. And so now if I want to scan, and I've got some scan groups set. I've got my ham local repeater set in group 1. I call it local. I've got some GMRS and other related type personal radio service frequencies there in scan group 2. I call that GMRS. And then I input some local air traffic control frequencies here in the Phoenix area. I'm near, fairly close by to Deer Valley Airport, and then of course Sky Harbor is downtown. So that's my scan group number 3. So to access that, then I'm going to go to menu. I'm going to go to menu number 49, which is my scan group. I'm going to press menu again, and here I can move through my scan groups. So I can scan my local repeaters here with local 1. I can scan my GMRS and other personal radio service frequencies here in scan group 2. And I can scan the Phoenix air traffic control here in scan group number 3. So let's just go back to my local repeaters. I'll set that by pressing the menu, and then I'm going to exit menu. Now I'm back to that. Now if I want to scan, then I'm just going to, and so here a local repeater is active, so it didn't scan very far. Press scan again. Now it's scanning through the various frequencies that I have. Now, my air traffic control happens starting on channel 200. So if I go up to 200, I can get the air traffic control frequency and just access it direct. But if I press scan, it goes back to scanning group number 1, because that's what I said in that menu. So if I want to get out of that, I have a couple of other choices I can make. So again, I go back here. I've got scan group. It stayed there on item 49. I can either go through my local 1, 2, 3 to the all choice. And if I do that, it'll scan all the frequency channels that I have entered in the radio. So that's the scan function. So setting up groups will make it easier. So if I was, downtown picking up someone at the airport, I could go to my scan group number 3 for Phoenix Air, start scanning, and then listen to conversations at the tower with approach control and so forth. So that's how the scan groups work here in the KG-UV9D Mate. As you saw, the scan function on the Mate gives you a lot of flexibility. Realistically, doing a broad VFO scan across one or more of the 6 scannable bands is a bit like going fishing in the middle of a giant lake. Just listening as the scan progresses isn't likely to produce any interesting signals. The frequency range is just too big. Better to do some planning and find some channels that are set aside for a specific purpose and either program a narrower range or load them into your channel listing and scan those. Kind of like using a GPS to find your favorite fishing honey hole. I'll be doing one more KG-UV9D Mate video that will focus on cross-band repeat function. Meet me over here as we go through that handy feature. As always, if you found this video helpful, please click the thumbs up button and subscribe to the Gadget Talk channel. Thanks for watching, and 73.